Welcome to the rapidly growing and explosive $100 billion plus storm restoration industry. If you're a contractor or industry entrepreneur watching this right now, pay close attention. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of the 2018 storm season and weather-related catastrophes across the globe and across the United States. So what's a catastrophe? The definition of a catastrophe is an event that causes $25 million or more in insured property losses and affects a significant number of property casualty policyholders and insurers. Whatever your stance is on global warming and climate change, you cannot ignore weather-related statistics. This is one of the fastest growing industries on the planet for contractors whom are currently expanding their business models to serve this explosive market niche. For many contractors, this is simply too large of an industry to ignore any longer. Don't believe me? Turn on the Weather Channel on any given day. Let's review the stats. Pay close attention to the 10-year and 30-year moving averages in the following statistics. So let's take a look at the global industry in 2018. Overall, all global catastrophic losses, including insured and economic losses, totaled $225 billion in 2018, well above the inflation-adjusted prior 10-year average of $190 billion. And the 30-year average for global catastrophic losses was around $150 billion. As you can see, the industry is growing and growing rapidly. Now let's take a look at those global insured losses. In 2018, worldwide insured losses from weather-related catastrophes totaled $92 billion, up from $50 billion in 2016. The insured losses were above the inflation-adjusted average for the last 10 years, which was $45 billion. The 30-year average for global insured losses was $33 billion. These figures have all been adjusted for inflation. As you can see, insured losses have been growing and growing rapidly. Look, if we just combine 2017 and 2018 weather-related global statistics, they comprise the following. $653 billion of the costliest back-to-back years for total weather-related catastrophes on record. $237 billion costliest back-to-back years for global insured losses on record. Now let's take a look at the United States in 2018. Economic and insured losses delivered from natural catastrophes in the United States were elevated for a second consecutive year in 2018. Overall economic total was an estimated $98 billion in the United States, of which $67 billion was covered by public and private insurers. Roughly 64% of global insured losses occurred in the United States of America in 2018, which is fairly typical every year. The costliest economic event was Hurricane Michael, which struck the Florida Panhandle as a borderline Category 4 or 5 hurricane in mid-October. Hurricane Michael caused extensive wind and storm surge damage in Florida, notably in Mexico Beach, Panama City, and Port St. Joe, before later maintaining Category 3 intensity into southern Georgia. This was the first Category 3 storm to impact Georgia since 1898. Widespread damage to property, infrastructure, and agriculture was recorded across the southeast and mid-Atlantic states. Total economic losses were estimated at $17 billion, and that number is still growing. This prompted considerable inland flooding across North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Hurricane Florence spawned record-breaking rainfall in the Carolinas that equaled to at least 1 in a 1,000-year return. Both North and South Carolina established new rainfall records from this hurricane. Total economic losses were estimated at $15 billion, and only 1/3 of that damage was covered by insurance due to low flood insurance penetration. The costliest events of 2018 for the insurance industry was the California wildfires. The November wildfire damage destroyed nearly 20,000 structures alone and left at least 88 people dead. This fire became the most destructive and deadliest wildfire on record in the state of California. The fire destroyed much of the city of Paradise. Total insured losses were estimated at $12 billion, and the loss development in 2019 will result in a much higher tally later on. California was also impacted by 2 other major wildfires. November's Woolsley Fire in Ventura and Los Angeles County, and July's Carr Fire in Shasta and Trinity County. The Woolsley Fire, which destroyed more than 1,640 structures in the high-value area of Southern California, prompted insurance payments of roughly $4.5 billion. The Carr Fire destroyed at least 1,604 structures in Northern California and led to more than $1.2 billion in insured losses. These totals are also subject to change. The state of Hawaii endured several noteworthy natural disaster events in 2018. The most consequential was the multi-month eruption on a big island that destroyed many small nearby communities and led to business interruption in tourist locales. Total economic losses were listed at $800 million. Hawaii was also affected by August's Hurricane Lane, which prompted torrential mountain rainfall and flooding. Other major U.S. events included a series of substantial hailstorms during the year that impacted parts of the Rockies and the Midwest. There were at least 8 individual billion-dollar disasters attributed to several thunderstorms in these areas. The costliest, which cost insurance companies at least $1.7 billion in payouts, left extensive hail damage in the state of Colorado. This included the greater Denver area and several areas like Colorado Springs and Boulder. Let's take a look at those billion-dollar loss events that are a growing trend in the United States. If we look at the 37-year average, there were 5.8 events producing $1 billion or more in damage per year. The 5-year average of the same events is 11.6 per year. In 2017, there were 12 separate billion-dollar-plus events across the United States. And this year, in 2018, there were 13 separate billion-dollar events. Guys, if we look at the last 2 years, 2017 and 2018, there were 25 separate billion-dollar events. Those are the highest 2-year total on record. It's clear this type of economic devastation from storms is becoming much more common. In inflation-adjusted terms, the United States has averaged fewer than 3 separate billion-dollar events per year from 1980 to 1990. Since 2010, it has averaged more than 10 per year. Both population and wealth continue to concentrate along the coast, as well as sprawling population centers across Tornado and Hailstorm Alley, making up over 33 states across the Midwest and the Southeast. In the United States, storms have been increasingly likely to hit populated areas in development. A look at the weather-related catastrophes of the past few years shows the severe potential effects of unchecked climate change. Look, don't get caught up in the politics of the word global warming or its source, but rather focus on the proof provided in that the 10-year and the 30-year moving averages are that weather-related storms and catastrophes are growing and growing rapidly. In addition to very active hurricane seasons over the last few years in the United States, that is July to November, the thunderstorm event, driven largely by 3,000 plus major hailstorms that occur each year between April and July, are collectively the leading causes of weather-related catastrophes of insured losses in the United States. Literally thousands of mom-and-pop, roofing, and general contractors have built a sustainable business model from hailstorms alone. The U.S. thunderstorm event, driven by the thousands of hailstorms that occur from April to July, combined with an increasingly and explosive hurricane season from July to November, has created a domino effect of peak storm seasons in the United States. This has perpetuated an enormous, reliable market niche and opportunity for industry entrepreneurs in the $100 billion plus storm restoration industry.